Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If brothers can come closer, inshallah, it's better to be closer than so far away. The sunnah of the majlis is that we should sit as close as we can to the speaker, to the imam, to the khatib. And sunnah is that we should sit so close. Sahaba would sit so close that if you put, some narrations mention if you would put a chadar over them, there was no gaps in between. So, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala grant khair and barakat to those who, inshallah, try their best to. For those who have back problems, knee problems, you need the wall, that's fine also. You can relax, inshallah, no problem. Allah Ta'ala put barakah in your amal, inshallah. In your amal, in your ilm, in your deen, in your iman, in your hayat and maut. Ameen, ya Rabbal Alameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. So just to disclaimer right from the beginning, we don't have chai or samosa today. So because of that, we're going to shorten the program, inshallah. Okay? Because there was a program before, so there was, so because of that, it was supposed to be extra long today. Because Surah Talaq, we were supposed to start today. And Surah Talaq has a lot of details. Talaq, right? Talaq. It has a lot of details. So we're not going to start Surah Talaq today. We're going to simply finish up Surah At-Taghabun. It's very short, very few discussions, not too much. So inshallah, you can go home and have your dinner, inshallah. So we were in Surah At-Taghabun. This is the fourth weekend, I believe so. We're going to finish very few ayat and very little tafseer. The plan was to do Surah Talaq, but it's very, very detailed. Just the first ayat is 10 pages. So that's why we're going to, inshallah, Surah At-Taghabun, we're in ayat number 15. Ayat number 15. So we're going to finish till 18, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن من أزواجكم وأولادكم عدوا لكم فاحذروهم وإن تعفوا وتصفحوا وتغفروا فإن الله غفور رحيم إنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة والله عنده أجر عظيم فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا خيرا لأنفسكم ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون إن تقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا يضاعفه لكم ويغفر لكم والله شكور حليم عالم الغيب والشهادة العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم. We repeated one ayat extra, the ayat that we already did before, because it's connected. It's like reading in English. If you read a sentence that's connected to the last sentence, but you start from the next one, it doesn't make sense. So even Quran, when you read from a place, you should read in a place where there's an appropriate place of starting. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And it's not the Quran that doesn't make sense, it's our reading that doesn't make sense. Because of the place we started or stopped, the sentence structure, it gets messed up. So the last verse that we recited, or the first verse that we recited, we already gave the tafsir of it. Just quickly translation, or connecting with the entire surah. Allah Ta'ala spoke about in the beginning, after introducing Himself, He said, you pick either iman or kufr. And then Allah Ta'ala gave dalil that Allah created everything, He made you, and to Him you'll return, He knows everything. In other words, these are all proofs of who Allah or proofs of why he should be the only one worshipped and no one else. And again, introduction to himself. And then Allah Ta'ala spoke about the nations of the past that came and went. They also had these proofs, clear proofs of Allah's oneness, right? But what did they do? They said, oh, how come a man came to us? Why not an angel? These type of excuses that weren't really proofs. The biggest reason is they denied akhirah. Verse number 7, they denied being resurrected. Allah Ta'ala said, look, of course you're going to be resurrected. Does it make sense? Aqlan, logically also, if you live a life and you did good and bad, and for some of the good you didn't get rewarded, and some of the bad you didn't get reprimanded, then does that make sense? What kind of a God is that, right? That's why when a person dies and they are resurrected, now full hisab kitab will take place. So logically it makes sense that there will be hisab, there will be resurrection, and there will be. So then Allah Ta'ala again says, look, what's the reason you disbelieve? Because you think that Allah Ta'ala cannot recreate you. And then Allah says, creating you from nothing was harder than creating you from something. وَذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. This is easy for Allah. If He created you from nothing, then creating you from something is even easier. By verse number 7. Finally, Allah says, believe in Allah and Rasul and the Quran, Islam, etc. Because on the day of judgment, verse number 9, on the day of judgment, everyone will gather together and that'll be the day of loss. That'll be the day of loss. يَوْمُ التَّغَابُن. That's the name of the surah and that's the meaning, right? That's going to be the day of loss, when at that time, those who believe, they'll get their Jannah. Those who disbelieve will get their Jahannam. And then, that was verse number 10. Verse number 11, Allah Ta'ala switches it a little bit. And I said that, even though it's not mentioned in Tafseer books, from what I understood, is the connection between verse number 11 and the beginning of the surah. Allah Ta'ala talks about whatever happens to you, it happens by Allah's will. If it's good, it's from Allah. If it's bad, it's from Allah. In everything there's khayr. So the connection, wallahu alam, it seems to be that, look, in dunya, when you strive for good, when you believe in Allah, follow Islam, the Quran, Rasulullah, you're going to make enemies. You're going to have apparent zahid loss. You see, man, I tried to do halal business, I lost everything. I barely make any profit. And my friend here, he's making haram business, he's making 10 times the profit. So now, it's as if Allah's consoling that when you do accept Iman, follow the Quran, follow the Sunnah, follow Sharia, you're going to have apparent loss. I try to send my kid to madrasa, I try to make my kids righteous. My kid doesn't do anything. And the guy next door, he's not doing anything, mashallah, his kids are righteous, they're praying their 5 times salah. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, listen, whatever happens in dunya, it was already written to be that way. It's not that you chose deen, now everything you're losing. No. It was already written that way. So, ma asaba min musibah, any musibah that afflicts you, famin Allah. This is illa bi'idhnillah. This is from Allah Ta'ala. So don't worry, as long as you bring iman, you follow the dictates of deen, yahdi qalbah. Allah will guide the person's heart. Allah knows everything. Your job is, don't worry about what taqdeer has said and written. Your job is what? Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. Follow Allah and follow His Rasul. Allah, the rest leave it to Allah. Why? Allahu la ilaha illahu wa ala Allahi falyatawakkal. Tawakkul on Allah. You do what you're supposed to do and have tawakkul on Allah. So whatever loss you gain in dunya, don't worry about it. In the akhirah, then you'll see. That is the real day of loss. So if you lost your business, your family, your friends, everyone, because you followed deen, then that wasn't the real loss. ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ التَّغَابُن. The day of judgment is a day of real loss. At that day, Allah will ask you, what did you do for deen? You're going to say, I was too busy with my family, too busy with my business, too busy with my school. I didn't have time for salah. I was losing out. Allah's going to say, today you're going to lose out, not that day. In dunya is not real loss. ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ التَّغَابُن. The real day of loss is akhirah. So this seems to be the connection. And then now Allah Ta'ala, because what happens? What's the biggest reason for loss in dunya? The biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons is because of family. A lot of times, I'm very, paband and very strict. I'm very usuli. I follow principle when it comes to everyone else. When it comes to family, I give them a little break. Family is the one that I'll always say, they'll say, hey, I know you. You're trying to be all righteous now. Your whole life, I knew you your whole life. Now you're trying to be pious. People outside cannot say that. They don't know you like that. You have to be open. You can be very formal with them. But with family, it's informal. When you start keeping the beard, the wife will say, hey, how you looking like? When you start praying, you want to go every single masjid for every single salah, you want to go to the masjid, your wife is like, hey, Your whole life you're doing this, and now you want to act like this. Wife will be, similarly husband too. Wife tries to become righteous, now the husband's doing the first one, look, what are you trying to do? You know, so, and then the children. Because the children we've sacrificed. I have to take my kids to the park, so I'm going to have to miss Asr. Let my kids sleep, he has school tomorrow, and he's school in the morning. But the mother, the whole day, bichara, bachcha pura din kaam karke aaye, the whole day he worked, let him sleep. It's okay, you can make qada of maghrib, no problem. Because of family, we will incur the biggest loss in akhirah. We have many classes, adult classes, we have adult classes. What's the excuse? I had to go to this function. I had to go to this program. I had this work at home. What of the class? Acha, wo to baad mein kar lenge. We'll make it up. MashaAllah, I see a lot of students for the Arabic program. Allah Ta'ala give istiqamah. Everyone say Ameen. But what's going to happen? May Allah protect us. What's going to happen? I had this function to go to. My kid, this is proper excuse, my kid was sick. Proper excuse. Or my wife said today, stay home, I'm feeling, It's always what happens. The family is the one that holds you back and you can't say anything. You can't say anything. And like I was mentioning last week, I've seen many families, our Bangladeshi families, right? The husband will leave the family 10, 15, 20 years. Allah. Come to America, he's earning money, sending money back. I've seen one family that he hasn't seen his wife for 15 years. So he left her pregnant, he got married, got her pregnant, and he came. 15 years later, he's seeing his son. Subhanallah, what qurbani? For what? Dunya. Now the same situation, if the brother says, I want to go for 4 months Jama'ah, for example, or I want to go and visit this country for study, I want to spend some time out. Everyone's worried now. Who's going to take care of us? What's going to happen? Your children are going to miss you. So what happens is, and this is both sides, I said both sides, not just wife, it's husband too. Husband too. Wife decides, I want to go and study something or do something, something in deen. The husband's like, who's going to cook now? Who's going to take care of the kids? These things. What I'm saying is, family generally becomes an obstacle and barrier for us to achieve greater heights in dunya, in deen, but normally not in dunya. Right? But not all families. You have to give credit, mashallah, because the brothers who are here, you're here because your family is allowing you to some extent to be here. Otherwise, the family can bother you and say, why are you not home? Who's going to take care of the kids? So that's why we have to give credit to those families who allow us to excel in deen. May Allah Ta'ala preserve them. Ameen. So this is the reason why these last few verses Allah Ta'ala talks about family. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum, your spouses, wa awladikum, and your children, they could be an enemy. They could be an enemy. We explained this last week. If they help you in your deen, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Shaykh is here, maybe you can correct me if the hadith is wrong, that he said that more or less, أو كما قال, that woman for a man, a woman is dunya. Right? وَخَيْرُ مَتَاعِهَا الْمَرْأَةُ الصَّالِحَةُ. Or he said, إِنَّ الدُّنْيَا مَتَاعٌ. Dunya is basically, mata' would be something that you use and something that is for your use. And وَخَيْرُ مَتَاعِهَا, and the best thing that you can use, al-mar'atu salihah, a righteous woman. What does that mean? Dunya is something, or is hadith maybe that dunya is cursed also. Another hadith says dunya is cursed. Everything that is in dunya is cursed. Ala inna dunya mal'una. Mal'unatun ma fiha. Everything in it is cursed. Illa alimun, except the one who is illa alimun, aw muta'allim, aw ma walah. Aw kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. That everything in dunya is cursed except the knowledgeable person and the one who's seeking knowledge or something or anything that is related to it. In other words, anything that is relating to the knowledge of deen, this is not cursed. Right? I believe dhikrullah was one of them, to dhikrullah. The other hadith says that dunya is something that you use besides, but the best of dunya would be a righteous woman. And the same thing for a man also, for a woman also. Everything in dunya is a means of usage and things that you use and you disregard, you let go of, right? However, the righteous, the best of dunya for a woman would also be a righteous man. What does this mean? If you have a righteous spouse, then you have the best of dunya. But if you don't have a righteous spouse, then everyone knows those who have that problem, and you don't want to go home. You'd rather stay in the masjid. You'd rather sit in your car. You spend extra hours at work, because you know when you go home, Ya Allah, your akhirah is starting before akhirah. Right? But those who have, mashallah, beautiful homes, and when I say home, not house. You build a house, or you make your house, you build your home. Inside, when you feel like, my house, my home, I feel like at home when I'm home, that's when you have a mar'atu salihah, righteous spouse at home. So this is very important. That's why that which attracts, becomes an obstacle between you and Allah Ta'ala, the biggest obstacle becomes your family. Your children, because most men are what? They're working double jobs, triple jobs. Why? My children, my children, my children. But if that child grows up to be a kafir, a dal, deviated, munafiq, and how much afsos a person makes. How much? That man, my whole life, I disregarded my deen for my child, and my child grew up to be like this. So they become the biggest enemies. Aduwwul lakum. Fahdharuhum, beware of them, be careful of them. But those who sometimes, we all are like this, we make mistakes. Not everyone is deendar, right? We make mistakes, right? And those who, they make mistakes, they correct themselves. But we let them go, forgive them, pardon them. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. The next ayat says something similar. We didn't do this ayat last week. إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ, your wealth, وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ, your children, they are fitna. Fitna. They are means of trial. Because of mainly your wealth and your children, right? Your whole life revolves around your wealth and children. Yes or no? My whole life, when I wake up in the morning, is my child getting everything that he needs? And am I getting enough money to take care of my family? Am I getting enough money for me? So money meaning the wealth. Children, I'm worried about, is my children getting enough? These two are trial for me. They become a means of me. My whole day is revolving around them. If I can't follow my deen, it's because of them. If I didn't have wealth and children, then I'd be fully focused in my deen. So they are fitna, they are a trial, but this doesn't mean that they're evil. No, no, no. This doesn't mean they're evil. Fitna and trial means it's your test. Are you going to give them preference or your deen preference? They are fariza, there's fard. You have to take care of your family. It's fard. You also have to take care of the rights of Allah. It's also fard. And we discussed this 2 weeks ago. Remember I said that which is fard by Allah, fard by creation, mustahab by Allah, mustahab by creation. We did this 2 weeks ago, right? So we have to, see where we. I'll give you one small example. If I'm making my salah and the kid comes to me, he runs to me, he wants to, at that time, what do I do? Salah is fard, playing with my child is mustahab, sunnah. Don't break your salah for your child. Even if he has to eat also, my salah is fard. Understand? Small example. It's another example of different scenario. Mustahab of deen, mustahab of dunya. I'm reading Quran, my child comes, he wants to play, he wants to talk. Now you have an option. You can close the Quran, play with the child, or you push a child aside and read your Quran. Both are mustahab. But now which mustahab are you going to give more preference? This is the difference. Now you give mustahab of Allah Ta'ala more preference. But where the child, it's farz. Now he's falling in a hole, he's going to get hurt. And you're reading your Quran, something is mustahab. And here, saving your child is farz. That's where you have to save your child. Everyone understand the difference? Okay, we did this before. So it's not that fitna doesn't mean your children are evil, your wealth is evil. No. But it can be a test. Fitna means a test, it's a trial. What are you going to give preference to? So this is the meaning of their fitna. They could be a means of you going to Jahannam, and they could be your imtihan of you going to Jannah. And remember this, whenever you give preference to whichever, remember, if you raise your child and you give him the best, you'll get great reward in dunya. You make him a doctor, mashallah, you'll be safe in terms of your health, your wealth, and your, inshallah, security. In dunya. But if you make your child a alim or hafiz, dunya, you'll get less. But wallahu indahu ajrun azim. By Allah's great reward. So give your child to deen. You can give him dunya, give him to deen also. Or give him, if you solely give him to deen, what happens? Allah will give you much more. Allah will give you much more. In dunya, You give him dunya, you'll get your dunya back in this dunya, but you're not going to get much in akhirah, which is fine. It's fine if you get in dunya, no problem. There's nothing wrong being rich, living in a nice house, having a nice car. There's nothing wrong, but you're not going to get much in akhirah. But if you give him deen, you'll get less of dunya, but you'll get everything in akhirah. This is the meaning of Wallahu indahu ajrun azim. By Allah is great reward, great reward. Fattaqullah. So fear Allah mastata'tum, to the best of your ability, whatever you can. Mastata'tum. Wasma'u, and listen. Wa'ati'u, and obey. Wa'anfiqu, and spend. So listen to Allah's command, obey Allah's command, and spend in the path of Allah. Khayran li anfusikum. This will be best for you. This ayat, fattaqullah mastata'tum, some people take it the wrong way. Some people, they'll say, Allah said it's okay, have taqwa, whatever you can do. And they take the meaning of what? Do whatever you can do, don't overexert yourself. So if you can pray salah, if you have time, pray. But if you can't pray, it's okay. Fattaqullah mastata'tum. Have taqwa to the best of your ability. Grave misunderstanding, grave wrong. Just 1 second. So, other verses mention, ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi. Fear Allah the way He should be feared. And the Mufassirin mentioned that means that you have to give Allah His due right. And what this means is, all the fara'id of deen you must fulfill. There's no what? No exception. There's no excuse. Fara'id we must fulfill. Fara'id is what? Believing Allah is one. Fulfilling the ahkam. Fard, all the fard. Salah, right? Namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, and taking care of the huquq of insan, whichever you're supposed to do. That you must do. And this ayat, fattaqullah mastata'tum, after fulfilling the fara'id, whatever you can do, you do. Remember we said fara'id of Allah, you must do. Then the sunan mustahabbat, extra, you try your best to do. This is the meaning of this verse. That whatever fara'id you have to do, you must do. And after that, everything extra, that's up to you, you try your best. That's the meaning of fattaqullaha mastata'tum. How is it connected to these verses? With family, fulfill the fara'id. After that, everything extra, you try your best. Don't go overboard. Don't do too much. Even in deen also, if fara'id you have to do, and then you try your best to do extra. If you can, alhamdulillah, if you can't, no problem. You try to become hafiz, mashallah. You try your best. You can't do it, it's okay. It's okay. You try to make your children, pious and righteous. You send them to the masjid 5 times. Try your best after that. And then that also, you have to try your best in fara'id. Leave the rest. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Leave the rest to Allah. Tawakkul ala Allah. I raised my child. I took him to salah. I taught him to pray. I took him to the masjid. Now he's baligh. He's 20 years old. He doesn't pray. You did what you could do. Allah will ask you, did you try your best? What did you do? And you say, Allah, I did this. Okay. The rest is on Allah Ta'ala. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. But if you didn't try, then you'll be blamed for it. You will be blamed for it. So this is also could be the meaning of try to the best of your ability. And your job is what? Listen, obey, spend. What is spending? Spending in the path of Allah. There's 2 things here. Number 1, after we try our best, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. Whatever happens, if you spend a little sadaqah, Allah Ta'ala helps. Right? In any problem, any situation, if you spend a little sadaqah, this just adds on extra. Right? So that's where whenever you do any amal, you try to give a little sadaqah afterwards. Any situation happens, a little sadaqah. Any accident, a little sadaqah. Anything, any sickness, a little sadaqah. Or even when you do good actions, you're not sure how much of it is accepted. Your little sadaqah, it amplifies. When you give sadaqah, it amplifies. The next ayat is saying this. Continuing here, so even with your family, give a little sadaqah too. Give a little sadaqah. Do whatever you can do, give a little sadaqah. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ. The one who who is saved, right? Shuhha, from the greed, nafsihi, of himself. The one who is saved from the greed of himself, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. They are the successful ones. One of the solutions of greed, a person's greedy, he wants more, is to give. When you give a little sadaqah, it takes that greed, that love for dunya takes it out. So if you want, what happens? One of the reasons for dunya, or one of the situations, this whole thing that we're talking about, all these ayat is about dunya. Your spouse, your children, your wealth, is all dunya. All of these things are dunya, yes? So if you want to remove some of the love for dunya or replace it with love of deen, give a little sadaqah. It'll take out the love of dunya from your heart. Right? This is the connection. In tuqridu Allah qardan hasana. And if you are to give qard, if you are to give a loan, qarda is loan. If you are to give a good loan, Allah will yuda'ifhu lakum. He will amplify it, multiply it for you. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, and He'll forgive you. And this is referring to helping the deen of Allah. Even when you don't have money, you give something knowing that you don't have, then you can also give temporarily. What's qarda? What's loan mean? I'm loaning someone, I'm lending someone, inshallah he'll give it back to me. Right? Sometimes we want to give, but we don't have. We just have what we need, but a person needs help. So you give some, and the deal is that you'll give it back to me. So even for this is reward as well. يُضَاعِفُ لَكُمْ, Allah will multiply it. So imagine a person giving without intention of getting back. Allah multiplied many, many, many fold. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, and Allah will forgive you. وَاللَّهُ شَكُورٌ حَلِيمٌ. Allah Ta'ala is shakur. Shakur is very beautiful. It's very thankful. Allah Ta'ala is very thankful. There's another word, ever grateful. Allah Ta'ala is grateful. Just when a banda gives, even though doesn't have, he gives. Allah is grateful of this. And shakurun halim. He's very tolerant. Right? We do wrong. We give preference to dunya over deen. We give preference to our family over deen. We make the mistake, give a little sadaqah, Allah will forgive you. Allah Ta'ala is He's not intolerant that He'll punish you right away because you did wrong. He gives us chances. Halim, He's tolerant. With mistakes, we make many, many, many mistakes. We all make mistakes. Allah gives us chances over and over again. Give a little sadaqah. Alimul ghaybi wa shahada. Allah Ta'ala is the knower of the unseen and the seen, everything that is out. Al-Azizu Al-Hakim. Allah Ta'ala is Almighty and the All-Wise. So, if you look at this surah, there are many, basically, He's Alimul Ghayb wa Shahada. Alimul Shahada, He is the knower of the seen. It's obvious. Unseen, sometimes we have situations no one knows besides ourselves. Especially men, right? Especially men. Women will blur out everything that's inside. But men keep everything inside, generally, right? So the situations that he faces with his family, situations that he faces with business, situation that he faces with his colleagues, situation that he faces from work, a lot of it he holds in. You can't tell the wife and kids, they'll get also even more worried, so he just keeps it to himself, and he fights, and he struggles, and he says, you know what, I'll take care of it. So man holds these things inside, Allah Ta'ala knows. Allah Ta'ala knows what a person goes through, and He's forgiving. So He knows all of these things. He's Aziz, He's Almighty. He is the one that is responsible for everything. Right? He's the one responsible for everything. So He knows your situation. He knows what's in the heart. You make the intention of what? You make the intention and you try your best, Allah will give you. And He's Hakim. He is all wise. He knows the reasons why He allows things. And so everything that happens in dunya, everything that happens within our heart, this is within Allah's hikmah. Within Allah Ta'ala's hikmah. There's one small point that I was very beautiful. Some points mentioned under the family. Some of the Mufassirin mentioned a very beautiful statement that it comes in some narrations that people will be brought to Allah and they will be told, Allah will tell them, "Akala iyaluhu hasanatihi." Ajib statement. That your family, they consumed all your good deeds. You were going to do good deeds, but what happened? You spent so much time with the family that you weren't unable to perform those good deeds. So this is a sign of how the family could become a deterrent for you to perform your amal of deen. And we see this a lot. We see this a lot. I'm trying to do something, I want to do something, but my family comes in the way, in the sense that I have to take my family out, I have to do this, I have to buy this, I have to go to work, all this extra stuff for the family. Now, if I decide, for example, I want to make one khatam every month, one para every day. You sit down, what happened? Your kid comes, he wants to play. The wife comes, can you go to the store? or something happened in the house, you have to fix something. So it's all the time, this is the situation. And it's life. It's life. You cannot reject or deny. This is what it is going to be. But what we have to do is try to make some type of schedule. We have to make intention first that I have to do this. Some of the brothers, I was telling them that if you don't have a schedule every day, that this hour from, for example, 8 to 9 o'clock, don't bother me. This is my ta'alluq ma'allah, my time where I connect myself with Allah Ta'ala. So 10 minutes I give to Quran, 10 minutes to dhikr, 10 minutes to istighfar, 10 minutes to durood sharif, 10 minutes to dua. And just turn the phone off, put it away, go into some dark corner, private room, and just worship, make ibadah. Unless I take out that time, it's not going to happen. Our elders, our Salafus Salihin, our Kabir, they would take this time out before Fajr. They would take out an hour, 2 hours. I've seen Mawlana Madani, he comes. I've seen that every single day, irrespective of which day he has programs late at night. One time we were coming back from Long Island, 1 o'clock in the morning. Any day, irrespective, 3:30 he's up. This is an 85-year-old man. 3:30 he's up. He's up, he's making his zikr, tahajjud, tilawat, and then after Fajr, then he goes to sleep for a little bit. If we have program after Fajr, he'll sleep and go, or he'll go straight to the program. Subhanallah. This is how the elders, they connect with Allah Ta'ala. So don't blame your family. That's what Allah is saying, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. Let them go, pardon them. They need their time, you need to give them time too. Take out separate time for Allah Ta'ala. Don't blame your family. Take out separate time. Before Fajr, wake up an hour earlier, and 10-15 minutes for each thing. And put your phone aside, no phone. Phone today is the biggest, right? But inshallah, one beautiful hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Under the same category, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, and it's Al-waladu thamaratul qulub. Children are the fruits of the heart. At the same time, he also said, وَإِنَّهُمْ مَجْبَنَةٌ مَبْخَلَةٌ مَحْزَنَةٌ. Ajib, men who are elderly, who are fathers, understand this well. He says, at the same time, they're also majbana, a means of cowardice. In other words, because of them, we don't do so many things. We don't go forward in so many, right? Mabkhala, they're the reason for many of us being very cheap and stingy. You don't want to spend because of your child. You have to spend on him, buy this. So you become very stingy. So even in deen, you're cowardly to go out for fighting in the path of Allah. Because if I die, who's going to take care of my son? So this was a means of cowardice in that sense. Mabkhala, means of stinginess. Why? You don't want to spend in the path of Allah because I have to spend on my son's degree. How am I going to give $10,000 to the masjid? And I have to spend on my son. I can give $10,000 to his education easily, but to the masjid? And last word, mahzanat. Allahu Akbar. It's tartib. Even in the hadith, there's sequence. Because in the beginning, you become cowardice. In the middle, you become a bakhil, stingy, and mahzana, a means of grief. Astaghfirullah. But at the same time, what is reality, right? Mahzana, means of grief. You put everything on your children. Everything. You spend your day and night. You sweat blood to take care of your children. Only for what? When you grow up, say, lakum dinukum waliyadi. You say, Daddy, your life was yours, my life is mine. Allah Ta'ala forgive some of our youngsters. What do? Old age homes. I can't take care of you anymore. We'll put a nurse with you. Back home, mashallah, you don't have too much of that. Here, you have a lot of that. Mahzanatun, a means of grief. Or maybe your children are taking care of you, but you wanted so much for your children. You wanted them to become this, do this. What happens? Nothing. And then you try to tell them the grief of, when my father, my grandfather, they don't even want to hear you. But you went through so much, and they're enjoying life here. They're not even ready to listen to what you went through. Every father has the same mahzanatun. They are the fruits of the heart, but the reality is they are these things as well. So it's not easy to raise children, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us, inshallah. And we have to learn the sunnah, how Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how he advises in raising children. And remember, don't give priority of deen, of dunya over deen. Inshallah, we'll try to do that. And if we, inshallah, share these points we learn, we should go home. Again, this is not something that is just for men, it's for women also. We mention men all the time because men are here. But just the same way, for a woman also, the man is her fitna. Or the man is her enemy if that man is in the way of her and her deen, her Allah Ta'ala. The children are her enemy. And especially for women actually. Men spend 2 hours a day the whole day in the house. The woman, the whole day they're there. So the whole dunya and akhirah becomes their children. Yes or no? Everything, all day, you call home, right? You call the home, or the son calls you by mistake also, he'll call you and say, where's mom? Every time they're calling is mom, mom, mom. If they call dad also, like, where's mom? That's why he called you. So the woman's time, all of her time is her children. MashaAllah, may Allah bless them. So if the women folk don't have deen, then our children will not have deen. One pious person said beautifully, he said, when you go to find someone for marriage, look at her and her family and ask yourself, is that how you want your children to be? Ajib advice. I found that amazing. He said, look at their family and ask yourself, is that how you want your family to be? If that is, don't even look at the girl. Don't even look at the girl. Look at their outer characteristics and what people know of them, what they're known for. And if that's how you want your family to be, then marry into it. Don't even look at the girl. Beauty is nothing. Beauty is just very subjective. May Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to act upon what has been said. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair. Apologize for the food, inshallah, next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.